Well, hello there, it's Nina, and I'm here today with Neat Tangled, showing you how to create some beautiful watercolor backgrounds. We're going to be using this faceted stamp set, as well as a couple other stamp sets from Neat Tangled, and we're going to do some watercoloring to create this beautiful rainbow background that I've created using a faceted stamp set. Here you see I have the stamp set. It also goes with a bunch of different sentiments, so you could easily just use this stamp set for your sentiment as well, but I chose to pair it up with another stamp set from Neat Tangled. But first I'm going to stamp my background. So I've got my Misty stamping tool here, and I'm just lining up my stamp onto the stamping tool. And now I'm going to take my Versamark ink and cover the entire background of this stamp with the ink. Then we're going to go ahead and stamp this onto our card. I did end up starting off with a full card on this design. I thought I was going to be doing a one layer in the beginning, but then I decided I wanted to change it up. So as you can see right now, it is a full A2 card that I'm stamping on, but we will be die cutting that in a little while. So here I'm just taking some Ranger white embossing powder, and I'm just covering all of my stamping up with the embossing powder, and then I'll go ahead and heat set it. Once we've got that done, you can see I've got my Derwent watercolor pencils, and I've picked out a rainbow of colors, everything between pink, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple, and I'm going to start watercoloring all of these little triangles with my pencils. So I kind of alternated between how I applied the pencil onto the paper. I originally started off by scribbling some of the color along where I wanted the color to be darkest, and then blending it out with my water brush. Then I also ended up taking the pencil itself and a wet brush and picking up the color off the pencil. So you can do it both ways. Both ways work just as well. I just decided to kind of just change it up a little bit as I went along. There was no particular reason other than just what I felt like doing. So here I'm just going to keep going ahead and adding the darkest color along one edge of that triangle, and then blending and fading it out to the other end of the triangle so that you can have a darker and a lighter portion of the triangle. It fades off from one side and has darker shadows. So I'm going to keep coloring, and once I get through this first layer of color, I'll come back and we'll talk about the next part of the coloring. Okay, so now that we've got all of our base coat done, it's completely dry, and I'm taking my colored pencils again, and I'm going over the darkest areas once more. And this is going to create a much deeper and vibrant color, and I really love adding this vibrancy to my cards. It's something I do all the time, and as you can see, I'm just quickly applying some color onto the triangles in the darkest areas, and then blending it back out with my brush, just like I had done in the beginning. So I'll keep doing that to all of the different triangles. Just keep adding color and blending it out with my water. I don't use a lot of water when I'm doing this because the more water you have, the more watery and faded the color is going to look. I wanted to keep that vibrancy. So I'm just using just enough water to be able to get that color to move, but still keep the vibrant color. And you can just test out. It depends on which kind of brush you're using and paper and all that kind of stuff. So test it out on a scrap piece of paper of the color, of the type of paper that you're going to be using prior to your painting, and just test it out. Lay down some color and test out the different ways of adding the water on top. Maybe use a little less, a little more. It all depends on what you're doing and what your paper is like and all that kind of stuff. So just test it out and see what works best for you. So I'm going to finish this coloring as well, and then we'll go ahead and come back once we go ahead and start the rest of the card. Alright, so now we got all of our coloring done, and I've got some gold Heidi Swap Color Shine, and I'm just spritzing that on and giving it a good little mist over top of my panel here. I'm going to dry that with my heat gun. And then as you can see, this gives the panel a nice gold shimmery color to the entire color of the background. It's very subtle. It doesn't distract from the painting and all that, so it's really nice. Here I'm taking a stamp set from the Kindness Matters stamp set from Neat Tangled. I'm going to be stamping this onto some black cardstock here. And so I'm just going to put this down into my Misty tool, and I'm going to take my Versamark ink once more, and I'm going to apply that onto my stamp. And then I'll go ahead and stamp this onto my black cardstock, and I'll prep it first with my powder tool. Almost forgot to do that, but I like to do that with black cardstock because it keeps from having any stray powders and pieces of embossing powder everywhere. So here I've got my white embossing powder. I'm going to go ahead and apply this onto my little sentiment strip here, and then I'll go ahead and heat set that. So now I'm working on the card base, and I'm using some Neenah Solar White 110-pound cardstock for this. I always use the 110-pound cardstock for my card bases and for pretty much everything else I do because it's the best weight for me, and I like the way it holds up. So I've got my background panel here, and I'm applying a bunch of tape runner to the back side. I'm going to take some craft foam, or fun foam as some people call it, and I'm going to attach it to the back side, and this is going to pop it off my card. Got another piece here because this one wasn't big enough. I'm just using some leftover scraps. Just going to piece them together to create a nice lift for my card. So I'm taking now my tape runner to my card base, just applying some of it down so that way I can attach my background panel to the card. And finally, I've added that sentiment strip into the center top of the background here. And I'm taking some sequins. These are both from Neat Tangled and Lucy's Cards. And I'm just attaching them onto the background of this panel, just in a random fashion. So I hope you've enjoyed. Be sure to stop over at the Neat Tangled blog, where you can find more information and pictures on this card, as well as the products used. And thanks again so much for stopping by. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and we'll see you again soon.